Hello, good evening, everyone. Okay. Hello, can you hear me? I've sent you the link, ma. I've sent you the link. Mr. Ahmed, I've sent you the link too. You can join through the link. I've sent you the invite.
Hello, everyone. We are having a little network issues with our host. So that's why you are seeing me. However, he's trying to sort that out and he will be joining us shortly. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi. Hi, patience.
Hi,
How are you?
Ibrahim. Good to see you here.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Our host is having a little network glitch and he will
Okay.
be joining us shortly.
All right.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, we'll just
So I'm
wait
going
for
to
him.
mute my mic and try
Okay.
to see if everything is okay from his end so he can join us. Thank
All
you.
right. That's fine. Thank you.
Hi, Ahmed.
Good evening, Nancy Patience.
Good evening.
How have you been, ma?
Good evening, Ahmed.
And
How are
you?
you?
Good evening, Mr. Solako.
Good to
You're
see
looking
you.
very fresh, Nancy Patience.
Ah, sure you know we are live. You want to tell the world that I'm fresh.
Are we
Finally,
live?
our host is here.
I,
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Welcome back,
So,
host.
can
I've
you,
explained to I've explained to everyone that we're having a network glitch. So we are glad
oh,
you are back here so you can kickstart already.
okay. Can everyone hear me now?
Yes,
Yes,
we
loud
can
and
hear
clear.
you.
Clear. Just before you start, um, just something to point out. I realized that for the host, the name says RALD. It's RADLD.
Okay, there is actually a mistake.
Yeah, I know.
I'll
I know.
correct that.
I just
You were
thought to
in
let
a
you know.
Thank
hurry.
you.
You were in a hurry.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
understandable.
I was pressing every.
Yeah. Network
All right.
issues can just destabilize one sometimes.
Yeah. No.
okay, I'm trying
Okay.
to see if the YouTube is actually going through. I don't think we are live streaming yet.
Have
I'm
access
checking
I
the
to.
believe
YouTube.
we are. We
Okay.
are.
Please, you
Yes.
can help share. So we can
We
just in 1 minute you can just help share the link,
let me check.
the YouTube link.
Mm,
Okay, please, Nancy
Ma,
Patience,
your
please check.
network is breaking.
okay.
The YouTube link is not live yet.
Exactly.
Okay.
I can't hear you.
Hello, are
The
you there?
YouTube link is not live yet.
Okay, I think it has to do with some safeguarding issues, like who can view this and all that. So we didn't
Okay.
set that.
Three people are waiting.
Waiting where?
It
Waiting
says
where?
three people waiting to join.
Okay, let me
Um,
go through the manage moderation.
are we making progress? That's it.
Not quite. 3 people.
Yeah, it says 3 people are waiting.
We are live. Oh,
Yeah, on YouTube.
I think so.
But
Let
it
me
says, in
see.
fact, 5 people are waiting now, and one is watching already. I don't know. It looks like we're live.
Okay, he's waiting for
Yeah,
RD.
we're live. We're live.
Can they see us?
He's waiting for RD. Yeah. We're live.
They can see us.
Yes,
Okay.
they can hear us. It's echoing at the moment. Yeah. So we've got two
Okay.
people in already.
They can see us.
Yes,
Okay.
they can hear us. It's echoing at the moment. Yeah. So we've got two people in already. They can see us.
Okay, then we can kickstart. We are live. Okay, then we can kickstart. We are live. It seems our host is having network issues again. Oh, he's back. Let me see.
Yeah, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm sorry, my network and then my phone has been misbehaving since morning. I just finished a class not quite long, so more reason I'm having this issue. Now, so shall we start?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
All right, no problem. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and then welcome to today's insightful webinar, Navigating Developmental Language Disorders in Children. And then we are looking at a Nigerian perspective, being a Nigerian. And then we are honored to have the distinguished panel. We have Mrs. Patience, Mrs. Patience Olaya. We have Mr. Lawal Olaiton. We also have Mr. Ibrahim Salako. They are panelists for tonight, and then they will be discussing more on navigating developmental language disorders in children, and they will be looking at from the Nigerian context. And the language development is actually a crucial aspect of a child's growth, influencing not only their ability to communicate, but also their cognitive, emotional, and social development. And however, some children, some children, in this journey of development, they
It's it's the Nigerian experience for REDLD. So um we're just gonna have to bear with it at the moment. Um I think it's back.
I'm suggesting that we can just start discussing these issues.
the diagnosis,
So,
and then also for
yes,
proper.
when he comes back, he just continues. I don't know.
It
Hello,
looks like people
our
don't have
host.
access to
And
it.
treatment. Yes, we have our speakers on, and then hello, can you all hear me?
We can hear you now. Your network tripped for some minutes and we could not hear or see you, but we can hear you now.
Okay, all right. In addition, our speakers will be spotlighting and they will actually be spotlighting the progress being made in the field, showcasing initiatives, success stories, and the potential of early intervention to positively influence the lives of children and families across Nigeria. As we explore this vital topic, we aim to foster greater awareness, understanding, and dialogue surrounding developmental language disorders within the Nigerian community. Thank you for joining us today. And as we embark on this enlightening journey to better understand and address developmental language disorders in children, let's now turn our attention to our distinguished panelists who will share their expertise and experience, their wealth of experience to enrich our understanding of this condition. So thank you very much for coming, our panelists. I'll be asking some questions and then I want you to enlighten us on this condition related to Mr. Ibrahim Salako. Bye. I guess my network is not even favoring me.
Okay, so maybe you should just apportion the responsibilities to us, the things we'll be talking about to each of
Okay,
us, so that in case
okay,
your network trips again, we will
okay.
take turn to
Be
address
able
the
to.
issues.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, all right. Pending the time, Mr. Ibrahim is not here. So, but I'll just we'll be talking about developmental language and disorder in children, and
Okay.
then also the manifestation of developmental language disorder in children, and then also we'll be talking about in Nigerian context, what do we refer to as developmental language disorder, and how do we diagnose developmental language disorder in Nigeria context? And then also, what are the challenges that are actually facing developmental disorder, the developmental disorder treatment and diagnosis in Nigeria, and how do we address these issues? So we can then, let me start from Mr. Ahmed, please.
Please, if you can briefly just
Mr.
repeat
Ahmed,
what
are
you
you?
said. Yes, I'm with you. I'm with you. If you can briefly repeat what you said, I was having a little bit of issues to hear. If you can just repeat what you said.
Okay. So I asked them, what is developmental language disorder?
Okay.
Let's start with
Okay.
that. What is developmental language disorder? And then just
Okay.
enlighten us on what is the manifestation in children, and then the different symptoms that we can actually see and say, okay, this child has developmental language disorder.
Okay, thank you very much, the host, for providing me with this opportunity to speak and share a little bit of my experience in the field. So, developmental language disorder is mainly a condition which affects individuals because it's not just children alone, it starts from childhood. So, it affects their experience in expressing themselves, like they have language issues, they have problem with speaking, they have problem with reading abilities, and sometimes also they have problem with understanding as well. So, majorly in the past, or will I say in the Nigerian context, we've actually used developmental language disorder. We've used it in the context of developmental language delay. That is what the common connotation has been used before in the past. So, for persons with this developmental language disorder, they have difficulty in various aspects because, as we all know, language comes in different levels or different components. We have the phonological aspect of it, we have the syntactic, we have the morphology, we have the semantics, and so on and so forth. So it is a spectrum disorder in the sense that not all children with developmental language disorder is going to appear basically the same. That okay, you're going to say that every child that is having this developmental language disorder is going to have these similar characteristics. So a child might be having challenges now in terms of understanding or in terms of expressing themselves, and they might not have so much problem in terms of, let's say, maybe the semantics, maybe the syntax, and so on and so forth. So they might also experience challenges in school. For instance, a child with this developmental language disorder, let's say, for instance, the teacher is asking a question in class now, and you are expecting that they are going to give you a quick response. By the time they are thinking and all that, before you be oh, sorry, my screen is having it. Okay, so before they can even think of the answer, the time is already fast spent and all that. So let me just use the mic and pass the rest to the next speaker. So if you can just give us a little bit of more information. Thank you. Okay, I don't know if Mr. Ibrahim is going to.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can all hear you.
All right. Thank you very much for that. I think Mr. Ahmed has touched on most of the things that I would want to talk about. So developmental language disorders are difficulties of language development which occur at the developmental period or early in life, and often manifest as an inability to produce, either comprehend or produce speech. It oftentimes it's a condition that is quite persistent and imposes some form of significant limitations on every daily living activities. For children with developmental language disorders, they might find it difficult to achieve academically. Even if they're able to pass through school, they might find it quite difficult to, um, gain employment. They may have difficulties with their social, emotional, and behavioral life. Um, and developmental language disorder is quite um, different in the sense that it is not necessarily secondary to hearing loss, to autism, through intellectual disabilities, and any of that. It's actually a condition that is specific to the area of language alone. And in the past, it has been referred to as, specific language impairments, language delay. Some have called it developmental dysphasia, and so on. Until recently, when it was just, reconceptualized to be developmental language disorders. And since then, it has, started getting some form of attention. It's a condition that's quite common amongst children, and is almost as common as autism. It affects up to 7% of children globally, and basically it's a condition that can persist into adulthood and still impose some form of limitations, and then impact quality of life negatively in people who are affected. So I think I can pass that on to Patience. I don't know if she has some other things that I haven't mentioned that she might want to add to that as well.
Yes, thank you very much. I have so much to say, I don't even know where to start from. So, in order not to waste our time, like the name says, DLD, developmental language disorder, it happens as the child is developing. And we all know that speech development starts It starts from birth. I mean, speech and language development starts from everything starts developing, even from the womb. The development starts from the womb. However, you don't see it manifesting until the child is like 1, and the child starts imitating sounds. The child starts saying a few sounds around. So you don't even notice that a child has DLD at that stage. Usually, it is until when the child is of age, like let's say 3, 4, and you know the kind of communication you expect from preschoolers, and you see that this child's communication is not is not developing the way it should. This child is having issues with sounds. Let's say the child is a preschooler, and you know, in preschools, they teach them phonic sounds. The child is mixing sounds up, mixing words up, having difficulties in when they teach the child, okay, letter A says this sound, makes the sound the child cannot give you the relationship, or does not understand the relationship between letter A and the sound which is actually basic. So the child is having issues with sounds. The child is having issues with words, trouble with words, understanding words, the simplest word and its meaning. The child does not understand. You are talking to a 5-year-old, and every statement the child wants to make, you are hearing because, even where because does not fit in. The child is saying yes, 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 even where yes does not fit in. So these are some of the signs. You see it in the sounds, you see it in words, you see it in the construction of the sentences. You see the signs, because sometimes their sentences would not make sense. And even what other people are telling them would not make sense to them. They are reading and it seems like they are not comprehending. It's not because they are dull. It's not because they have poor IQ. It is because of that language disorder that they have. They have issues with discourse, like difficulty in reading in between lines. Like they just take contextual meanings of what they have read, even as adults, and they do not understand that you can actually read in between lines and understand what you are reading. So they have social language issues, inability to understand some social cues. They have issues with learning and memory. So it's not because they are dull, it's because of the deficit they have in terms of language. So it affects their working memory. It affects their ability to remember the words, the right words to use in certain instances. It affects their ability to know which word, I mean, the meaning of the word they are being told. So we need to understand that many children in school, many toddlers, many children, many teenagers, many adults that people actually think are intellectually deficit, or they have intellectual disorder, that they do not have high IQ, they actually have nothing wrong with their brain. The issue they have is the language disorder, developmental language disorder. And if they get the right support, they will be it will help them adjust better. It will help them improve their communication skills. It will help them improve their social skills. And you know, studies has it that persons with DLD are more likely to have depression. They are more likely to be depressed. And do you know that, in fact, some people become adults without even knowing their diagnosis? They do not even know they have this problem. All along, they thought they were not intelligent. So if such persons now find out today from this awareness we are creating that, oh, the problem all along was not that I am not intelligent, it's just the DLD I've been dealing with all along. Then also, the if you look at the area of DLD, you will see that it is not caused. Some people may think, oh, this child, because they have DLD, this child has autism. DLD is not as a result of any other speech and language disorder. It's not as a result of autism. It's not as a result of Down syndrome. It's not because the child is stuttering.
Any other speech or language disorder is not the cause of DLD, that's developmental language disorder. However, it is possible to see comorbidities in DLD cases. That is, a person with DLD might have dyslexia alongside the DLD they already have. A person with DLD, I've treated a case of a person with CP, cerebral palsy, who also had DLD. So the CP is not the cause of the DLD. It's just so happened that the person has DLD and also has cerebral palsy. So any other disorder is not the cause of DLD. DLD is a disorder on its own. However, the person might have comorbidities. So also, the impact of DLD, it affects literacy and reading, it affects comprehension, it affects the ability of the child to sit in class, understand what they are being taught, and be able to give it back. It affects that. It affects their educational achievement or attainment. So a child that has DLD that has already been ruled off that, oh, you have IQ issues, you are very poor academically. This child is not poor academically. This child just has DLD. This child might not, some children may drop out as a result of this. Some children may not be able to, if their problem gravitates towards the comprehension, like they may not be able to excel academically. Some children may have issues relating with peers, because when someone is telling you the experience they had during the long holiday, and you do not understand what they are saying, other children may most likely look at this child as, oh, this child is just weird. He doesn't understand a thing we say. We are not playing with this child. So it may affect their relationship with peers. It may affect their behavior. When a person feels alone, it's a lonely experience to not be able to communicate properly or understand what you are being told, even when nothing is wrong with your brain. And also, even when people do not understand that this is the issue you are having. So it could affect their behavior in terms of frustration, being frustrated frequently. It could affect them that they become very rebellious and stubborn, disrupting the class or environment, not because they want to, but because they want to use that as a distraction to distract people around them from seeing the real problem, which is the language disorder, and then making people think, oh, I'm just a stubborn child. It can lead to issues with employment prospects. It can lead to mental health issues if the person does not get the right support. So, however, all these issues I've listed that can be around persons who have, all these issues that persons who have DLD can experience can be reduced if they have the right support, if they benefit from therapy, if their teachers, their friends, their family members understand that this is DLD and not intellectual disability or formerly called mental retardation. This child is not retarded in any way. This is language disorder. So it is good that everyone becomes aware, the teachers, the family members, the community, everybody becomes aware of what DLD is, so that when we see these children, we will be able to spot it. We'll be able to get the right help. We'll be able to refer them to the right personnel, the right professionals. That's the speech and language therapist or speech and language pathologist. So I would advise viewers who are viewing, you can be on the lookout for the RADLD page. It's on Facebook. There's a channel. You can be on the lookout. Lots of things will be posted on weekly basis, at least on weekly basis until October. October is the main awareness event. So before October, we'll be posting things on weekly basis. Sorry, I'm sounding funny. I have nasal congestion. So
It's allowed.
Um, so don't think I'm hypernasalizing. I don't have speech disorder. It's nasal congestion. I'm
Okay,
diagnosed with
okay.
myself already.
Okay, so because I think Stephen has a lot of questions for us, but then I think network is really doing him
Network
bad.
is not in our
Yes.
favor. Yes.
Okay, so let me just act as both the moderator and the panelist at the same time. So I
Oh,
think the
great,
next,
great.
yeah, so the next question that he was planning on asking was, in the context of Nigeria, what are some of the common challenges in diagnosing developmental language disorders and how can they be addressed? So I don't know, maybe Mr. Salako can answer that, then I will chip in, then anti-patients can also do that.
Right. Thank you very much for that question. Touched on so many things, including of these common challenges that are faced here. So one of these challenges is comorbid disorders. For children who have you know comorbid disorders, that is DLD and some other conditions, which could be autism, it could be ADHD. It gets quite difficult diagnosing such children within the context of Nigeria because our healthcare system is that which, when children have difficulties, when they have developmental issues, most times they do not really seek for
Okay, okay. I think Mr. Salako's network has also gone bad. So, anti-patients, let me just chip in a little bit before he comes in. Then, okay.
Okay.
So, one
disorder.
of the I,
Oh, he's
You
back.
oh,
lost me
your
for a
line
second.
was breaking. Your line was breaking. So, I don't know if you can just repeat that a little bit
Oh yeah,
before.
so like I was saying, comorbid disorders represent one of the major challenges of diagnosing DLD in children. The presence of comorbid disorders. Children might have ADHD, and with the way the Nigerian healthcare system is structured, the first point of parents most times is the speech language pathologist. Why? Because they do not seek for intervention for children who have developmental disorders unless it affects a critical part of that child's daily life. Common aspects that is affected on children with developmental language disorders is communication, or children with developmental disorders generally is communication. So oftentimes parents get to see a speech therapist and they can you hear me?
Yes, we can
Yes.
hear you. We can hear you.
So oftentimes the speech therapist is the first point of contact for children for parents who have children with developmental language or developmental disorders generally. And when they get there, the speech language pathologist is then left with diagnosing a DLD as well as maybe an ADHD or an autism, which is a comorbid condition, which might require some form of management from another healthcare professional. So it gets quite difficult actually diagnosing the DLD in this instance because the healthcare system does not really provide that support unless parents are quite intentional and they try to resolve this issue using a multidisciplinary approach. So one of the major issues, one of the major challenges in diagnosing language disorders is the fact that our healthcare system, the way it's structured, it does not really provide you that opportunity to diagnose children with developmental disorders from a multidisciplinary perspective, which then leaves the speech language pathologist with a difficulty in knowing whether this is or it's secondary to another condition. Another major issue is, the linguistic diversity, which is quite common in our own part of the world. Over here, you have majority of children speak more than English. They speak more than one language, and in that instance, it becomes a bit difficult for speech language pathologists to actually assess these children. The question then is, in what language do I assess them? Um, what should be the cutoff? Majority of the testing instruments that we use are developed in the Western world. So can we really apply the measures of
Okay. If I would just take on from there briefly before Mr. Asilako comes back.
it comes to
So,
diagnosing children with developmental language disorders? I don't know if patience also has, you know, what she wants to add to that.
Okay, yes, there is a way around. These are issues, and it calls for a cry for us improving on things locally for our people in Nigeria. So now we have the dialect issue because the assessment tools of DLD are foreignly developed. So there is a need to maybe transcribe because come to I don't know because we have several dialects in Nigeria, and we have more from my own assessment of the situation of things. We have more speech and language therapists in the southwest region of Nigeria than we have in other regions. So it's possible that many of the speech therapists we have are people who understand the languages in the southwest region of Nigeria. So it might not really be a problem when it comes to diagnosis, because if a person understands the local language of the client, then they may be able to break it down for them and carry on with the assessment. And also, in a situation whereby the client is bilingual, therapy can be done in both languages, such that the clients can be asked which language is your preferred language, and then the therapist will capitalize in that language. However, flexibility is allowed if the secondary language is also used by the client, maybe during sessions. That can also be used as a means of therapy for the child. However, it will be advised to the parents during the period of therapy to stick to a language, especially the primary one, so that the child, let's master this first before we now move to secondary language. And also, I believe that the awareness being created will help a lot to reduce some of the local issues we are having in terms of, because Ibrahim mentioned earlier that when, generally speaking, when people have issues like communication disorder, they do not seek professional help. They try to see how they can fix it by themselves. And that might lead to not yielding to early intervention. And we'll all know that early intervention has a greater chance of neuroplasticity. That's the brain fixing itself, the brain repairing itself. That's a better chance at recovery. So when people do not seek the right help and they go about asking neighbors, asking people, oh, your child did not speak in time, what did you do? And they will say, oh, we took the child to one baba that gave us some herbs, and the child ate the herbs and got better. People need to know that not all disabilities or speech or language disabilities are the same. Whatever worked for your neighbor might not work for your child. So it's best to seek a professional's help. If you know anyone whose child has RDLD, I mean, whose child has speech or language disorder at all, and you are not sure what they should do, they could be sent the link or of RADLD on Facebook or YouTube. They could send a message and they'll be connected with the right help. It might not necessarily be RADLD. It might be any other speech or language disorder. However, help is close to you. When you know the right people to reach out to, they will show you the right way to go about it. who to talk to or where to find speech therapists, because we do not have speech therapists in every state of the country. So it's good that if you want to seek help, seek the right help, so you don't go and give your money to quacks. So
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Ma. Just for me to add to what you've actually said in terms of the challenges that we face in diagnosing developmental language disorders in Nigeria here. Also, we have challenges of rural-urban divide. We'd see that even in our so-called civilized or more urban states, for instance, now like in Oyo states, now we majorly have only speech and language therapists in the Ibadan area. We don't have speech and language therapists in Oyo. We have in Ogbomoso. We don't have in all these places like Shaki and the rest. So because of this rural and urban divide, access to speech and language therapists, to health practitioners, to health professionals is quite limited. Also, as it has been rightly mentioned, there is also the challenge of early screening as well. So, in most cases, for instance, now, if you want to diagnose a child with developmental language disorder, you're supposed to, once you see the signs and symptoms, once you're seeing that, okay, like this child is having difficulty in expressing themselves, in understanding what is being said, you're supposed to take them down to the hospital, you're supposed to take them down to the professionals. But even the parents, they don't have much awareness in terms of these challenges. So they just think, the younger brother or maybe someone in the family had this type of challenge in the past, and then they started speaking as time goes on. So they will just think, okay, since because this happened to this so person and they started speaking, so there's really no need for me to go and see a professional in order to manage these conditions. Then also the materials, the tools to actually diagnose persons with speech and language conditions in general is quite expensive, and we all know the challenges that we are facing in this our current Nigerian health system. Before you can get materials to diagnose cleft condition, autism, aphasia, and so on and so forth, it's quite strenuous. But then the purpose of a program like this is to raise awareness on developmental language disorder, to make sure that, okay, everybody knows what the common signs and symptoms of this condition is, in order to at least get in touch with the health professional, in order to even know, okay, if my child is having this particular condition, this is the person that I am supposed to see. And also, as rightly mentioned, we also have our linguistic diversity, which makes it quite difficult for us to know that, okay, the skills that they actually use, or the material that they actually use in UK, US to diagnose persons with developmental language disorders, they have to be localized for us. So, but anyway, let's move on to the next question on on our list here, which it said that, okay, could you share insights into the potential impact of early intervention programs for children with developmental language disorders in Nigeria? So I will just briefly touch on that, and then anti patients would also assist in that area. Early intervention is actually the best thing that can happen to anybody at all. So immediately you see that, okay, this child is having developmental conditions, this child is having challenges in expressing themselves, this child is having a problem of reading or participating in language activities in school, just seek out professionals such as speech and language therapists to help these children. So once this is being done, then the speech and language therapist can develop therapeutic interventions that can help the child to develop their communication abilities. So it is the impact of early intervention. It is not little at all. So once the child is identified early, it is easier for the speech and language therapist to actually assist the child and help them develop their speech and language skills and also help them in their communication abilities. So I don't know if Auntie Patience would love to add to this as well, ma.
Thank you. So you already mentioned it, and I already touched on early intervention earlier when I was speaking. Early intervention is anytime, it may be as soon as you know there is a problem. However, if you are knowing late that there is a problem, as soon as you know, seek help. Do not sit on it, do not sleep on it, do not pray it away. Because I know that Nigeria, we are quite religious. We do lots of praying and hoping that our prayers will be answered and our problems will go away. I'm having a meeting. Excuse me, sorry. My little helpers. It has stopped.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you very much, Auntie
Sorry,
Patience.
I'm still speaking.
Oh, okay.
I'm still speaking. So we shouldn't just pray about it. Even for those who are Christians, the Bible says faith without work is dead. Meaning that if you keep praying alone about the deficiency or difficulty your child is experiencing and you are not working towards that child getting help, the child is not getting help through therapy or any intervention, that prayer will not be answered. Prayer alone is not going to fix it, because even the Bible says prayer without work will not give you results. So as you are praying about the situation, also work by seeking the right intervention for the child, and seek it as soon as possible. Seek it immediately. Don't even sit on it, because you may get distracted, you may forget about it, and you may not end up not doing anything about it. So that's that. So early intervention, so most times, in many cases, the cases I've seen, for cases of DLD, since it has to do with comprehension, it has to do with understanding words. The parents may have seen the signs, but they may just think that this child is not that fast. However, as soon as the child starts going to school, it becomes glaring to the teacher. So when the teachers tell the parents, oh, your child is this, your child, parents should not take it lightly. They should immediately start looking for ways to seek help. So in DLD, you see that the child is having issues with comprehension, giving feedback, sequencing their sentences. So it's more glaring at age 5. As from age 5, it's more glaring at that stage. And as soon as it is discovered, parents should be encouraged to seek the right help. DLD awareness, teachers are very important in, they have lots of contributions to do when it comes to DLD awareness program. So I don't know how we are going to, but we have to do something about it. We have to reach out to teachers and get them aboard, since they are involved, since uh sometimes they may be the channel to an assessment. So if teachers are armed with the right information and they know the signs of how to spot if it is a DLD case, we are not saying teachers should do the diagnosis, but then if they are a channel, every parent have relationship with their teachers, their children's teacher, in a way or the other, or the children's school. The teacher may be able to direct the parents that, oh, based on the information I have concerning this is what is happening. This is what I think is happening with your child, and this is the right professional to go and see. There is this page you can reach out, and they will direct you on how to get help on this case. So that's what I have to say for now. Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you very much, ma. Okay, so let me just briefly chip this in, or let me just briefly ask this question. So, so that we just round it off finally now. So, we're saying that, okay, can you highlight? I don't know if Auntie Patience is still here with me. So we said, can you highlight any success stories or case studies that demonstrate the positive outcome of interventions for Nigerian children with developmental language disorder. Okay, so I will just let me share my own story, then um, try and come bring this meeting to a close. Okay, so I once had a patient with DLD. The patient came in, I think, when the mom brought him into our hospital, I think when he was around 3 years old. So we did the assessment. Then the mom reported that, okay, uh, I think I'm trying to recall the distance. Okay, but anyway, so they brought him in for assessment. I took the boy's case history, and the mom told me that, okay, when he's speaking, he doesn't speak so clearly. His sentence structure is very, very poor. He will use verbs in places of nouns and all that. So after the assessment, we developed a therapy plan for him, and we also developed an IEP plan, which is the individualized education plan for him. So we started the therapy, and although the boy had a little bit of ADHD as well, so it was quite difficult getting him to, because we just wanted to use, let's say, just 6 months. We wanted to spend 6 months on the therapy for him. So after 6 months, we saw considerable progress, but not really what the mom was expecting like that. But after a while, with the help of the mom, so we had to like bring in the mom that, okay, this is what you're supposed to be doing at home. This is how you're going to be assisting him at home. And we actually saw considerable progress. We started with his words, we went on to his sentences and then conversations, and he made so much considerable progress that when his dad came back in, because the dad was not staying with them, so it was just the mom and the boy. So when the dad came back in, he was so surprised that he was asking me that, is this my boy? Is he the one that is speaking so fluently like this? Is he the one that is expressing himself so fluently? Because previously when he wants to speak, we just mumble everything up together, and then I have to just calm him down. Okay, like this is how you're supposed to say this. You're supposed to put this in front of this. You're supposed to say this before this. We calm him down. We did all that, and then within, would I say, like 9 months, with the intervention and then with the help of the mom as well, because it is actually very nice to also point this out for our parents that are listening. You can't just pour all the load of the therapy activities just on the parent or just on the therapist alone, and you expect to see considerable progress. No, you as a parent, you're spending a considerable amount of time with your child. The therapist is only spending, let's say, like 3 hours in a week with the child. So you're spending, let's say, like the other 22 hours, 23 hours or so, and so on and so forth. You're spending with the child. So it was with the help of the parents that we're able to see considerable progress. So that's one of my own success stories when it comes to developmental language disorder. So actually, speech therapy works. It works if you actually devote your time into it. You can't just expect that it's just the therapist that is going to do everything. Without the considerable contribution from the parents, you most likely are not going to see much improvement as you would like to see. So please, if you have, or if you're seeing any child that is having problems with reading, problems with comprehension, problem with understanding language, please try as much as possible to seek the appropriate health professional. Try as much as possible to see your speech and language therapist, and I can assure you that you're going to see a considerable improvement in the child's on receptive and expressive language skills. So I don't know if anti patients can just add a little bit into this before we round up the meeting, Mark. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'd like to let parents know that speech therapist is not magic. We do not do surgery. We will not open your child's head and now put words into it. So it needs patience and consistency. Patience. Don't expect that within a month, 2 months, 3 months of starting therapy, you'll start seeing results or remarkable results. It takes time. The problem did not happen. I mean, this developmental language disorder did not happen within a week or 2 weeks or 1 month. It's been there all along. So please be patient with the therapist. especially if you are not involving yourself with a quack that, oh, speech therapies are expensive, I will get a cheaper one. You're going to look for a lesson teacher and you say, oh yeah, teach my child. Lesson teaching is not the same as speech therapy. It's not the same. Oh. Your lesson teacher will teach your child 2 plus 2, 1 plus 1, or whatever the lesson teacher feels your child should know. But they will not do speech therapy with your child. Speech therapists are not speech teachers, they are speech therapists. And also, let me explain this to you. When there is a medical issue that requires surgery, surgery can be booked and it can be done. And after the surgery, in fact, even before the surgery, you'll be told that there's a 50-50% or whatever percentage of chance that it will be successful. Nobody ever gives you 100% success rate of a surgical procedure. So that's for surgery. But most times, or sometimes, after the surgical procedure, you will see a remarkable change because whatever was the problem has been taken out or something has been added to improve the quality of life of the person. Then, if the medical issue requires medication, oral medication, or intravenous medication through injections, it might take like maybe hours for the medication to be broken down into what the body needs per time. And then you take it, if you follow the prescription, hopefully you may see changes. However, when it comes to speech and language disorder, you do not require medication, you require therapy. In some cases, you may require surgery, like when it comes to frenectomy or clefts now. But generally speaking, anything that requires therapy takes longer than what requires oral medication and surgical procedure. So the reason I'm doing this analogy is to let you know that it takes time. Even if it's physiotherapy you need, you will take time, months, before you start seeing progress. And if you are doing it just once in a week, you won't see as much progress as a person who does the physio 3 times a week or twice a week. So I'm trying to let you understand that patience and consistency is very important. It's not that you start therapy in a day and then you say, oh, we are going for summer break. There will be a gap for 1 month, 2 months, and then you come back to therapy and then you say, oh, we need to travel. There will be another gap of 2 weeks. And then at the end of 6 months, you're expecting to see results. No, that's not how you get results for speech therapy. It takes patience and consistency. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma. I'm trying to see. Okay, so the next one here is what resources, support networks, or organizations are available for parents and caregivers seeking assistance for children with, let me just say, for persons with developmental language disorders in Nigeria. Okay, so first and foremost, I think one major problem that we have in our little enclave here is that we have this challenge of persons, let's say like behavioral therapists doubling as speech and language therapists, or a teacher doubling as a speech and language therapist. Please, if you're going to be getting the services of a speech and language therapist, try as much as possible to ask if they are actually licensed or not. That is one way of making sure that you're getting we are getting the services of a professional, somebody that has actually gone through the teaching process or the learning process of becoming a certified speech and language therapist. It's not everyone that calls themselves a speech and language therapist that is a speech and language therapist. So to get, in terms of getting the resources or support networks, that is one of the reasons why we are creating awareness on developmental language disorders. You can check our Facebook page, you can check our Twitter page and Instagram page at RADLD. and we can always get you a speech and language therapist in whatever locale that you have. So that's one of the support networks that you can get for DLD. So if you have other, aside from DLD, if you have other conditions, so let's say maybe you're seeing that your child is having what is described as autism spectrum disorder, or cleft palate, having articulation conditions, and so on and so forth, you can definitely reach out at RADLD on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube. So those are some of the platforms where you can get assistance for your children with developmental language disorders. And just to also chip in a little bit, DLD, it is a spectrum disorder. It is, I would not say that it is like autism. It is a spectrum disorder in the sense that it is not it is not the same symptoms or the same signs for all children with DLD. A child that is having DLD, or a particular child that is having DLD, might have challenges in, let's say, maybe in just sounds alone. Another child might have challenges in, let's say, maybe in understanding alone. Another child might have problem in comprehension and speaking alone. So it differs from child to child. But the best way in diagnosing or in making sure that your child gets the best services possible is reaching out to a certified speech and language therapist. And that is why we are here for you. And we are going to be raising awareness on the condition. Thank you very much. I don't, and patience, can you chip in a little bit before we close this? You are muted, ma. You're muted.
Sorry about that. Remember to search for RADLD Nigeria on YouTube, on Facebook. We have the other networks. We have the other social media handles coming up during the course of the week, hopefully. And we have a lot to do to put out the right words and to connect you with the right service provider that you need. All the
Okay.
best. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So if you have any questions at all, please, you can just drop them in the comment sections, and we'll touch on it a little bit before we close this little streaming of ours. So if you have any questions now, you can drop them. Okay, in the absence of none, as we said before, you can always reach out to us on our different social media platform. So thank you very much, and thank you, Auntie Patience. We'll talk in private. Okay, so bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.